Welcome everyone to another episode of the Will and Rock MMA podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Let's talk about two upcoming bouts. We got Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic.
Long time coming.
We both could agree that Stipe is was by far the best heavyweight fighter to ever exist on this planet. He loses one fight, he disappears for about 2 years. Such a bad call on the UFC. They were so ready for Daniel Cormier to take over that position and push in Brock Lesnar. They waited for Brock Lesnar forever, and then Brock Lesnar just straight screwed them in the asshole because he's no longer nowhere to be found. He's actually considering retirement at this point. I heard rumors that he actually is going to be in one of the WWE events in Abu Dhabi. So I think he is completely done with MMA as a whole, and it's embarrassing to know that the UFC hold off so long for Daniel Cormier to hit the octagon to fight someone like Brock Lesnar, and then Brock Lesnar does something like that to them.
The person who I feel sorry for is Daniel Cormier. I mean, after UFC, right?
Daniel Cormier or Stipe?
No, Daniel Cormier, because Daniel Cormier's biggest payday was with Brock Lesnar. Now Brock Lesnar pulled out, and then they decided to put a guy like Stipe Miocic who hasn't been in the spotlight. So now they're gonna have real trouble trying to sell this fight, if you ask me. MMA fans like us are definitely gonna watch it, and we're in tune and we're looking forward to it. But think about the people that were huge WWE fans, which overpowered the UFC. Let's just be honest about that. We're losing out on a lot of those fans. So at the end of the day, the person that's going to get the screw up the most here is Daniel Cormier. We have to take that consideration. With that being said, as an MMA fan, I prefer this for Stipe Miocic. It's unfortunate that it took this long to make happen. However, it's happening. I'm happy for Stipe Miocic. I'm happy for Daniel Cormier to step into the octagon and prove that it wasn't a fluke. He did knock him out, and he could do it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you're saying that that's the person that got screwed the most, if you stop and think about who really, really got screwed, was Stipe. Stipe loses one fight, the UFC decides, you know what, and I'm almost guaranteeing they were throwing out other fights for him, but things that just did not make sense for him. Yeah. So I think who really got screwed here was Stipe. It wasn't necessarily Daniel Cormier.
I was just thinking money-wise and everything else.
Yeah. All right, so next fight, too, we got Joel Romero versus Pablo Costa, which was long coming. So much craziness happened. If you think about it, those two were supposed to fight. Costa got popped with steroids. He was forced to leave. They put Jacare. Jacare was supposed to fight Joel Romero. Joel Romero then gets injured, and then Hammerson comes in and ends up fighting Jacare, and then Jacare ends up losing. Jacare got the worst part of that deal, I would say. Hammerson got the best part of that deal, without a doubt, with the victory, and now that his name is really up there. Back-to-back victories in a very short period of time.
And good victories, too.
Good victories. So now, finally, we're going to see these two killers hit the octagon and really go against each other.
It's the perfect time for both of them to step in the octagon. They've been away for a little bit, but they're still very active for the most part. Put them back in there and let's see what we get. We got the best two bodies in the game going against each other. Something to really look forward to. You know?
I couldn't agree more. And then if you really want to sell it, you could sell it as the youngin is fighting the old comer, but the old comer fights like he's still in his 20s, so that's pretty dope. Let's just talk about the main event that happened at UFC on ESPN Plus 9 in Ontario, Canada.
Right, so we have Donald Cerrone, who fought Iaquinta. I would like to think for the number one contender, but who the hell knows? You know, it's like at this point, is it for the number one contender? We definitely know that the number one contender is Dustin Poirier. And he will be fighting Khabib. It seems like that's almost a done deal. It's just a matter of finding the time and place. I mean, I think the rumors are that they're going to be fighting in September, and they're going to be fighting in Abu Dhabi. So that's the rumors that everybody, Which
would be an ideal situation for both fighters. That's a massive payday for Dustin Poirier, which is long coming for him as well. Because that Russian money that this guy has, it seems like it runs very deep.
You know what I
mean? So with that being said, Donald Cerrone put on a fucking clinic, for 5 rounds.
Yeah, I think he's looked the best he's looked in a very, very long time. We have to take in consideration that if you saw them both in the octagon, Iaquinta looked much smaller than Donald Cerrone. But this is what this is the performance you have to, I mean, I could relate this to every sport, right? when the best basketball team is playing the worst basketball team, the best basketball team has to crush the worst basketball team, right? This is the same thing. With no disrespect to Iaquinta, because I think I had him winning. I said, yo, he's gonna probably take this fight.
I told you, Don Cerrone under pressure is a bad motherfucker.
But what happens is that you saw a real, like, as far as body goes, a little more overpowering than Iaquinta, and on top of that, he came out guns blazing, looked astonishing performance, one of the best performances in the octagon that Donald Cerrone has had to this day. He needs a big payday. I agree with you that he should be the next contender between Khabib versus Poirier, or, as we've been talking about, and Instagram and all MMA sites have been talking about, bring in Conor McGregor from retirement to fight Donald Cerrone.
So I couldn't agree with you more. I think this is the reason why I feel this is, even though Donald Cerrone has looked better in other fights, complete domination to the fact that he was able to finish the fighter. The reason why this is his best performance to date is not necessarily his full performance. It's what was on stake for this performance. And what was on stake for this performance was, which we both could agree, this was for the number one contender. This is definitely going to fight Dustin Poirier or Khabib. So this had everything riding for Cerrone. There was a ton of pressure on Cerrone, and he overpowered it all. Took big hits, which I was actually pretty impressed with how well he took some hits, and just absolutely from round 1 to round 5 completely dominated both kicking and punching, and that's what you expect from someone like him. Kept his distance, and that jab devoured Iaquinta. Iaquinta has a lot more to learn, and I think that dude is going to be extremely dangerous in a couple of years to
they
come.
Should definitely get him there with Kevin, a guy like Kevin Lee. I think that match.
Back to Kevin Lee? Nah, dude, you can't. That fight can't sell anymore at this point.
I don't know if anybody could sell this. I mean, who you put Kevin
I can't
Lee
think of anybody right now, but that fight, I don't know if it's going to sell very well. But either way, Kevin Lee needs a victory in order for us to be talking about this, like a big victory, like a no-name victory.
So does Iaquinta. He just came up with a loss. I think it's the perfect match to make.
I don't think so, bro. I'm totally disagree with you. In the next podcast, remind me that I had this conversation. I'll definitely have a name for you that I feel would suit better than Kevin Lee.
Right.
And I'm not saying that Kevin Lee is not deserving to it, but they already fought.
Right. What does that have to do with it?
How many times they fought?
Once.
Oh,
sorry. They fought twice. No, you're right. They fought twice.
Yeah.
Iaquinta beat him twice, and I would.
Yeah,
it was a little controversial.
That's what I'm getting at.
From Kevin Lee's point of view.
It's not necessarily controversial because we both had Iaquinta winning both fights.
No, you're right. I forgot that they fought two. I thought it was the only one.
No, definitely didn't. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the third fight, and I could be wrong.
No,
you're
that.
wrong.
You're wrong.
Oh.
No, it's definitely this.
Oh, I'm awful. All right, man. Let's jump straight into the freaking card that is so stacked, bro. Brazil.
What a card.
UFC 237. Jessica Andrade versus Rose namajunas. First fight you have, and this is actually from the main event. So first fight you had Diego Ferreira versus Francisco Trinaldo. What a freaking fight, man. What a fight. You have two black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighters going up against each other. And keep in mind, this fight is in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So this is going to be a lot of black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsus there.
I have Trinaldo winning this fight by decision. I think Trinaldo, the older, if I'm not mistaken, of both of them. I think there's probably a big, huge gap in between both of them with the ages, correct?
Sounds about right.
In his high 30s, correct?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't necessarily state their ages, and I completely forgot their ages as well.
Well, my point is, Trinaldo seems like he has the power, and I believe that he could take him to the floor or maintain his stand-up game just enough to win by decision.
I got Diego winning this. I think Francisco's on his way down in his career. He is the older fighter coming into this fight. I think the UFC wanted somewhat a semi-big name to put in the first fight in the UFC, which I think is a good fight for Trinaldo. Mm-hmm. I think Trinaldo's in the downside of his career. I got Diego winning this fight. Okay. The younger, more hungrier fighter. I'm assuming. We got next fight. We got Thiago Alves versus Leonardo Scarponi, which happens to be from Argentina. Yeah. So two South American fighters. I definitely got Leonardo winning this fight. I think Thiago Alves is really looking. It's really tough to see him fight at this point in his career. And even his last fight that he won was also very sketchy. So
did he win his last fight?
He won. No, he won his last fight. His last fight.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm gonna go with the Argentinian fighter. I believe that he's Thiago Alves. This could be his last fight. What better way to go out than in your hometown of Brazil? You know, he's based out of Florida with the American Top Team, but I believe that he wanted this fight because it is in his hometown of Brazil, and you know it could be his last fight.
Win or lose?
I don't know about win or lose, because knowing him, I mean, he should have retired if you ask me a while ago. He came out of nowhere, came right back into the octagon, and if he gets a win, I believe that's be 2 wins back to back, like you said. I believe that he would continue fighting.
You got it. Well, makes sense. Next fight, which is something to behold, my friends. We got Jose Aldo fighting Alexander Volkanovski. Ooh, this is a tough one for Jose Aldo, man. Yeah. Alexander has been on an absolute tear. Yep. Absolute tear. I will say this. I do have Alexander winning this fight. Not just from speed. I don't think Jose Aldo has the speed that he still has. I think he still has the power that he had at one point. He just doesn't have the speed. Alexander's going to win this fight by TKO first round.
I'm gonna have to disagree. Agree with you that Alexander will win. However, I don't believe it's in the first round. I believe he could either go down to decision, or it could be stopped at the late second, early third round. I think it's going to be a brawl, because Jose Aldo now loves to stand in the middle and bang with you. He does not care of taking a couple of punches before giving you a couple. So with that being said, I do unfortunately have one of my favorite fighters of all time, Jose Aldo, losing this fight. But I guess we have to wait and see. All
right, next fight, we got a legend in the building, right? So we got Jared Cannonier fighting Alexander. What the hell am I saying? Anderson Silva. Anderson is Spider Silva, the best fighter to grace the octagon in our generation.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because John Jones has either surpassed.
Has definitely surpassed.
Surpassed. The only issue is there's too much controversy behind him. That's one thing that we didn't necessarily see.
Because it wasn't implemented as strong.
But when they did implement it, Anderson did get popped.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's steroids doesn't give you skills. It gives you a little bit more power, if so. The training that they have to go through helps with steroids, because steroids allows you to continue going after a certain amount of time. Let's not take anything of skill away from these people. With that being said, I believe it's a perfect co-main event, if you ask me, because if Anderson Silva happens to lose, I believe he would then hang his gloves up. If he wins, he might still hang his gloves up. We don't know exactly what Anderson Silva is going to do. However, a person of that stature deserves a co-main event, although I believe the Jose Aldo fight is a little more interesting. But Anderson Silva in his hometown, perfect co-main event, perfect way to leave the octagon if he decides to leave. But also perfect opponent to put, because you need to put somebody in there that's going to either destroy a legend or either lose to a legend. I don't think it's a better person than to put into acting, if you ask me.
I think you're absolutely wrong with that. I totally disagree with you. I think this is, to an extent, the way the UFC is seeing this, and I could be wrong. They're giving him a give-up fight, a fight that he's designed to win. The UFC saw it and said, you know what, let's throw this guy in there. Let's see how much we could still milk Anderson Silva in this sport. So that's where I disagree with you. I do believe Jose Aldo should be the co-main event, which I totally agree with you on that. Because not only is it the more exciting fight, but it's also two people who literally deserve to be co-main events.
Absolutely.
So that's where I disagree with you in. Also, I do believe that Anderson Silva winning this fight puts him in he will continue fighting if he wins this fight. I don't think he will retire at this point. He loves that fight. He's one of those guys that just loves fighting way too much. I'll tell you one thing about Anderson Silva. Please hop off that boat that you're calling out Conor McGregor. Jump off that boat. That thing has been streaming. People are trying to make some buzz behind it. You're 185 pounds. Conor McGregor's walking around at 155 right now, maybe 160 if so. drop that. Like, can Anderson Silva at this point in his career, you want a super fight? The super fight that could have happened, it could have made a bit more sense with George St. Pierre. They could have done a catch weight. Why are people still writing Conor McGregor like that? You're writing somebody who is not even close to your weight class, and you're a fucking legend, bro.
Yeah.
You're an absolute legend. At this point in your career, you either go up weight, because going down weight is not going to benefit someone like Anderson Silva in this age.
No, it won't.
Go heavyweight and go for that heavyweight title. See if you can make a run at the heavyweight title, because there'll be monsters there for him to deal with, but at least there's a chance that if you want to regain that championship level of mentality, there is a way to go with that. You know what I mean? Or stick to light heavyweight, but stop calling out Conor McGregor, in my personal opinion. With you. So, anyways, last but not least, Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade. It's the perfect fight for this main event. They're doing it in Brazil. You got a Brazilian and you got an American. I do believe that it's not necessarily fair for the champion to have to go and visit somebody else's hometown. I'm a little disappointed in the UFC. I think the champion should say where and where not to fight. But if we know Doug Rose, we know she's taking a fight wherever it is.
You know, she's coming into this fight as the underdog, which I think is very interesting. But at the same time, we have to take in consideration the performance that Andrade has been putting in that octagon. The last knockout versus Jessica Kroswowski, I forgot her last name, sorry, I'm really chopping it up. She knocked the bejesus out of her, right? We haven't seen a knockout just yet from Rose, but we've seen killer performances by Rose. And by that I mean she could take you all the way to the end of the fight, or she could submit you. We have seen her submit a couple of people. What's very interesting is that, like I'm saying, she's the champion, but she's the underdog. It's very interesting. I don't know if it's because, like, back to what you're saying, that they're fighting in the hometown of Brazil, and Andrade has the upper hand technically. However, I believe that Rose is going to step to the occasion, and she's going to make it happen, and she's going to win by decision. She's going to pick her apart.
Think about these two main events we just spoke about. We spoke about Rose versus Andrade, and we spoke about Iaquinta versus Cerrone. If you take someone like Andrade and you take someone like Iaquinta, two amazing wrestlers with power and both knockout power, then you got two other fighters like Cerrone and Rose, who are more technical fighters, and one could either beat you in decision, or two, they can knock you out.
But with that being said,
Rose doesn't have the most. I won't say she has the power as well.
She does have. I don't mean to interrupt you, but she does have. She's a much taller fighter, just like Cerrone was, and you could tell that she's built a little bigger than Andrade in the sense that she's a little taller. Not because Andrade doesn't look.
I think Andrade is wider than her. That's a fact. So, long story short, it could work the same way as this past co-main event. You could have someone like, someone who's a power hitter, who's also a great wrestler, and then you have the more skilled, more smarter fighter who knows how to keep her distance and do what she's great at, which is same thing she did with Joanna. Keep the distance and such accuracy behind Rose's punches and kicks, and stay confusing the fighter. Confuse the fighter as much as possible, which is how Joanna ended up losing her fight. She couldn't figure out Rose. And Rose has been unstoppable when you put her in positions where she can either submit these fighters, which is going to be a chance to do something like that in Brazil, which would be pretty nice if you think about it, or really just outscore her and outclass her. This is a true fight between the championship and somebody who deserves to be in that first contender. No, and there goes without saying.
That definitely goes without saying. It's tough to pick one or the other, to be honest, but I do have Rose winning this fight by decision. It's a 5-round fight. I think Andrade, by the 3rd or 4th round, she's not going to be able to figure out the more complicated fighter that is Rose Namajunas. You know what I'm saying? So that's a wrap, bro.
That's a wrap, man. It's a wrap. I can't wait. This Saturday is totally something to watch. UFC 237. It's in Brazil. You got legends and top of legends fighting in this card. So, peace, guys. Continue to support us. We appreciate everything.
See you next week. Peace.